Well, spring is in the air and it's time for us to get to work.
And I, for one, am ready for some warm weather.
Yes, I know. Winter wasn't that bad this year, but it can be a little challenging to shift into the new season. So coming up, we've got sustainability expert Diane McCachran that's going to show us some eco-friendly tips for cleaning our home from top to bottom.
And if you're aching to warm up your bones in a sunny destination, come with us on a vegan holistic health cruise to the Caribbean. While we're there, Bianca will show you some eco-chic spring fashions that'll be perfect when the cold weather finally breaks.
And if you're ready to freshen up your culinary routine, food expert Jim Epstein is here to show us the importance of buying and eating food that's locally grown. Then Vegan Man's going to whip up his favorite snack recipe, Cheezy Jalapeño Kale Chips, right in the dehydrator. All this and more on Conscious Living. Well, spring is here and it's time to roll up our sleeves. And we've got sustainability expert and the founder of Big Green Purse, Diane McCachran, here on set to show us some ways that we can clean our homes in a more eco-friendly way that's healthier for our bodies, healthier for the planet, but it's still gonna let our homes sparkle. Diane, so glad to see you.
Thank you for having me.
I love cleaning, but sometimes, I think about the toxins that are going into my lungs when you're breathing, and it's not so good. What are some of the things that we need to be concerned about when it comes to traditional cleaning products?
A lot of products, especially the spray products, they have something called, you'll read on the label, it'll say synthetic fragrance or fragrance, and those are really phthalates, and those are sort of nasty chemicals. I know when I inhale them, I almost get an immediate headache.
Yeah,
so you want to skip the phthalates, you want to skip the synthetic fragrances. And honestly, a great rule of thumb is if you see things on that label and you cannot pronounce them, chances are they're synthetic, they could be people respond very differently to all these things, but I'd say simplify the ingredients and just buy things where you can really understand what you're reading on the label.
Yeah, and unfortunately with most cleaning products, majority of the ingredients, literally, you have to have a PhD in chemistry to understand.
Right.
So what are some healthier alternatives that we can simplify our cleaning routine?
And the thing that I always recommend to people is make your own. Water is the universal solvent. It cleans. They made the Grand Canyon, for goodness sake. It can certainly get at the grime in our kitchens.
Yeah.
So start with water on almost every surface except wood, which we're going to talk about. Add a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of fragrance-free liquid detergent, dish soap, and you're good to go on just about every surface.
And a lot of people are concerned that it just doesn't clean as well as some of the more toxic stuff. Is that just a myth?
Well, I certainly think so. I mean, I've got a 3-bedroom house with a dining room and a living room and a kitchen, and that's all I use, and it's a pretty clean place. I mean, nobody gets sick when they come to my house, so I think it's okay.
All right, well, show us what we should use on different surfaces. I know that there's different cleaning products for different things, and we want to make sure that we're making the most out of our cleaning routine.
Well, and one thing I want to say is the greenest way to clean is immediately. In other words, when you have a spill, wipe it up so that you don't have to worry about bringing in these nasty chemicals to get the job done.
Get right to it.
But here's something that I made myself, and this is, exactly what I was talking about. It's vinegar, a little bit of soap, and water, and it's great. I use it on almost every surface. You just clean it up and you spray it on, and that's all there is to it. And if you have something that requires a little bit more grit, no smell, I often use just common baking soda, and you sprinkle it on, and it's just good. It's got enough grit in it that it can get the job done. If for some reason you just don't feel comfortable doing that, you can still get a product like Bonami. All this is pulverized stone.
People love this stuff.
And no fragrance. It's absolutely safe to use, and you can use it on every surface except wood or glass.
And none of the nasty ingredients. It's a pretty simple list there. Okay, so we've got our stove tops and glass. Does this work on granite too?
I would say that you don't want to use a product that has vinegar on granite because it is acidic and it can etch it up a little bit. But, again, look at this. All you really need is soap and water on something like that. Another thing we need to look out for are antibacterial agents in cleaning products. And it seems like everything now has an antibacterial agent in it. But the buildup of these antibacterials is creating superbugs that are becoming less responsive to the antibiotics that we use.
Oh, wow.
So
we're training them.
It's better to not use antibacterial agents and just stick with soap and water and things that actually still get the job done.
And that gets rid of the germs just fine.
Absolutely.
So how about stainless steel? We've got a refrigerator over here. Would you use any particular product on that? Or?
Well, you know, I would use soap and water and a little bit of vinegar. The nice thing about soap on a refrigerator is the refrigerator gets a little grimy.
Yeah.
So having a little bit of soap in the solution works really well. But the surprise is that you can actually use olive oil to polish up.
Okay, well, let's go check it out.
And I just put a little bit on a cloth, and you'll be surprised at how, you know, it just
really
shines
makes it shine. Wow.
So why buy something?
Olive oil, I never would have thought of that.
Right, it doesn't leave behind a residue, and it doesn't leave behind a nasty smell that you have to deal with, and look how pretty that is. So,
love it, love
there
it.
you go.
Okay, what about the part that everybody thinks is impossible, the floors? They get so dirty.
You
what
know,
do we do, especially
well,
hardwood?
What I do is I actually use a product that's easily available in a place like Ace Hardware, and I'm not a sponsor for these products, but I think that they really work. And I just, again, you put a little bit on the floor, wipe it up, you can mop it up, and the thing I like about this is that it cleans it and it leaves it behind a nice shine as well.
Yeah, nice little shine.
And it's easy as that. It cleans, it shines, you can't complain.
Can't complain, and no smell. Great. Well, it feels so good to do spring cleaning. And guess what? That's not all we've got coming up. Some ways to go sustainable with your produce. Don't go away. Well, we've all heard about the benefits of eating local produce. So today, Jim Epstein, who's the chairman and co-founder of Blue Ridge Produce, is here to give us some tips on how we can go local and do something better for our bodies, for our health, for local farmers, and the planet. Right, Jim? Welcome.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you in this wonderful basket of produce, local produce. Yeah. So what is Blue Ridge Produce, and by your definition, what is local?
So Blue Ridge Produce is an aggregator of Virginia and regionally grown produce for sale to our region that we live in. And local has a whole variety of definitions. And some people define it by growing in your neighborhood. Some people have 25 miles or 50 miles or 100 miles or whatever. For me, I think what's important is how quickly it gets from the field to the plate. And because the nutrient value of produce drops as soon as it's picked. And so the sooner we get it, the more nutrient value is retained in the produce. So for us, we strive to get produce from farm to plate within 36 to 48 hours.
And that's a lot faster than what you see typical grocery stores. I mean, the food's sitting there for weeks, I don't know, days?
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, typically grocery stores are pretty agnostic about where produce comes from, and of course most of it comes for us, from the other side of the country. And that takes days, many, many days. It's waiting in a warehouse there to get on a truck, trucking across the country, and then sitting in a warehouse here and then into the system. So it does take many, many, many days.
Yeah, and it sounds like just the carbon footprint of that process, it's just not good.
That also is a huge impact. Yeah. And one of the values of having local produce is not only do you get a more freshness, higher nutrient value, it also is an opportunity to really eat more seasonally because of what's grown locally, and it helps to reduce the carbon footprint of what we consume.
Well, it sounds like local's the way to go. So what are some easy ways that the average person at home can incorporate more local produce into their everyday diet?
The local produce, the best way to do it is through farmers markets. Of course, we have many of them, and they've become ubiquitous everywhere. They're wonderful ways to connect to the farmer, to talk to the farmer, find out what the farmer is doing, and talk to your neighbors at the same time. So that's probably the single best way to do it. Your local co-op, typically food co-op, has a good connection to local farms, and we're likely to have them in anything. Supermarkets are beginning to move towards more local sourcing. Online groceries are a big thing that's coming up, and they have made a big effort to source a lot of local produce in their system. A form of getting local that's been around for a long time is the CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture. That's where an individual will buy a share of whatever a farm produces, and so during their season, they're getting a basket filled with a variety of items. The newest variation on that is more like a farm club, in which you're getting a curated basket of local items, but they're sourced from a whole bunch of different farms, so that means that each week you're getting a much greater variety than you would were you to get everything from a single farm. And then finally, another variation that's come up is a meal subscription, so that you're getting the basic ingredients to make a meal or make several meals. And those companies are making a big effort to source as much of their produce as they can from local sources.
Yeah, well, so many different options. I think it's doable.
It is, indeed. It is indeed.
Great, great.
And it's important to ask where the produce comes from. So really, in order to move the needle on how much is sourced locally, because right now, we have only about 6% of the produce in the food system is really local. And so in order to really move that needle, we need to encourage the bigger institutions to move towards greater amount of local sourcing. And the way to do that is the same way that students are doing it on the universities, which is insisting that we get local, that they walk their talk for local food just the way they teach around sustainability and they're building green buildings.
Nice. Well, I love it. Well, I feel like so encouraged to eat local every day, every way. And coming
Good.
up, we're going to do that with a recipe from Vegan Man using this. And then after that, we're going to go on a little holistic vegan cruise to the Caribbean and check out some of the hottest eco fashions of the season. Don't go away. As soon as the temperatures drop, I've got one thing on my mind: warming up in a tropical destination. For a lot of people, going on a cruise is the perfect way to do it. You bask in the sun for hours on end, get waited on hand and foot, eat as much as you want, as often as you want, and travel to unique locales without the hassle of airports or driving. As much as I've traveled, I've never been on a cruise. So when I heard about the holistic holiday at sea vacation in the Caribbean, I knew it was time.
Holistic Holiday at Sea is an educational seminar where we sail around the Caribbean, learning, playing, eating, and having a good time with each other. All in a vegan cruise setting. We'd like to take a nice environmental, fun atmosphere. I'm not naive to think that the people who come on the cruise are all vegan, vegetarian. They're not. I mean, a lot of them are, and a lot of people come for different reasons. They come because they're into health, and some of them come because of illness in the family. And we don't mind that anybody comes. They want to eat steak or potatoes or chicken. But you know what? I use the expression all the time. It's called better than. So maybe at the meal they'll have, instead of potatoes, they'll have brown rice. And then maybe instead of meat one time, they might try a tempeh or a tofu dish. So it doesn't mean everybody has to reach nirvana all at once or one day. It's a process. And whatever it is, they learn on it. Maybe they'll take it back and they'll try it again sometime in their house. That's what this cruise is about, learning and sharing. My mission is personal responsibility. Don't blame it on anybody else. Don't count anybody else to take care of your life for you. It's up to you. You take care of your life. You have the power within you to do that. So that's what this cruise is all about. You learn, and at the same time, you have a good time.
I wasn't sure what to expect, but when I set foot on the brand new MSC Divina, I was impressed. My stateroom was comfortable and well appointed, including a cozy sitting area and ocean view balcony with plenty of room to stretch out. Outside the stateroom, I was struck with the sheer vastness of this floating hotel. Which was equally matched by its luxury, like this staircase made with Swarovski crystals, a perfect backdrop for gala night. The cruise features presentations from some of the world's leading authorities in health and wellness, like Dr. T. Colin Campbell, best-selling author of the groundbreaking book, The China Study. Guests are also treated to healthy cooking demos from top chefs.
That would detract from the visual aesthetic of the dish. If you guys want to get some amazing tofu, one step that you could take, should you want to give it a bit more bite and texture, is actually freezing the tofu.
Oh, it's very delicious, very rich and flavorful, and has good depth to it, which he was trying to achieve, and it's really good.
For fitness enthusiasts like me, the cruise is a dream, with a running track, fun classes like water spinning, dancing, and twice daily yoga. After a sunrise yoga class, we debarked at ports of call like St. Martin. And Puerto Rico, where I walked the old cobblestone calles of Old San Juan, fed the pigeons in the town square, and did some shopping at the fabulous eco-chic boutique Con Calma. Thank you so much. Stopping by. But the main event on this cruise is the food. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert.
People say it's a life-changing experience. We get that expression more than we get any other expression. And what we've done here this week has totally changed how they looked at on life, given them hope and inspiration, how to change their life. And it's incredible, it's remarkable, thanks to what we've created here.
When you're traveling, it can be tempting to buy souvenirs, tchotchkes, and cheap clothing, which is often made with toxic materials by workers who are exploited thousands of miles away. But if you're willing to do a little footwork and are up for an indigenous adventure, you may find locally made, ethically produced treasures just around the next corner. On a recent trip to balmy San Juan, Puerto Rico, I found just that, a fair trade hub for local artisans, expertly curated vintage houseware and apparel, and sustainably made clothing and accessories, appropriately named Con Calma.
Gracias. Sí. Ciao. Bye. Sí.
Where did you get the name Con Calma?
It's a word you could hear in the street in Puerto Rico every day.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I also find my inspiration from the streets.
Mm-hmm.
I like to walk a lot. I love culture. I love society.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like to study it. So Con Calma is a word we hear every day. It's a peaceful word. It really literally means at ease.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you know, it is heard in like conversation where there is not such calmness, you know, like
right.
take it
Con calma.
take it easy, you know, and so
Tranquila.
plus, I mean, manufacturing in Puerto Rico, like I told you, I mean, it's almost like in the brink of extinction. So you're walking that really fine line of like wanting to maintain or protect or some, which is con calma. I mean, China would be the opposite.
A seasoned designer herself, one of owner Matilda's most successful initiatives are her eclectic upcycled totes, made from locally sourced recycled material in a range of funky styles and colors.
Yeah, you like it.
It's hard to pick just one. Look at that pocket. Look at the detail. It's just beautiful. I really love this print. The fabric is so thick and sturdy. Change your mind? Swap it anytime for another one or for a discount on something else in the boutique. I think it's such a great idea. I mean, as a fashionista, who doesn't want to swap out their handbag like every month or two? You know, that I mean, it's just fun.
We're really excited about things like that, like being able to try little quirky, you know, conscious consumption strategies to see whether they work or not. You know, introducing a product to a market, it's really hard, and I feel that there needs to be more space for that.
Other best sellers include Oralise, a ready-to-wear line made with nature-friendly materials, like the proto hat and belt, made with an indigenous basket weave technique derived from fallen kubi tree splints.
You know, I mean, how to change your outfit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Accessories. You know.
And organic, pesticide-free cotton and silk, hand-printed with toxin-free vegetable dyes in ethnic prints.
Our Toño Bicicleta print, which is an exclusive. It's all silk. This was a collaboration with Raquel Berrios.
He was a hoodlum on a bicycle.
Yes, exactly.
I wouldn't have known that that's what this represented had you not told me. I mean, I love the bicycles and the color is great.
It's
just such a beautiful, shade of blue. It's perfect for spring, summer, resort.
Yes.
Just, it kind of feels like the ocean. Something you'd want to wear right by the beach. Nice. Okay, well, I guess I should try both of these on. What size do you think?
Are gorgeous. I am.
Oh, I love it. This I could see just throwing on any day, not just the beach. All right, we'll see you later. Okay, bye-bye.
Enjoy.
Okay.
Ciao.
Ciao.
So we all love to snack, right? Problem is most snacks are crap. They have too much sugar, they have too much salt, they have no nutritional value, they have high fructose corn syrup. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna not snack, we're gonna have carrot sticks all day long or celery sticks? I don't think so. Today I got the solution for you. Guess what? It's crunchy, it's salty, it's oh so delicious, and it's a superfood, kale. I'm gonna add a little cheesy jalapeno twist to it. This is gonna knock your socks off. We're gonna start with 1.5 cups of cashews. We're gonna drop those in the food processor. We're gonna add our nutritional yeast. A lot of vitamin B12. It's got a tremendous cheesy flavor. So this is our secret as vegans and how we can get that cheese that we just wanna keep coming back to. 3/4 cup of nutritional yeast, 2 teaspoons of sea salt, a little dash of cayenne in there, an entire jalapeno pepper. Okay, and the juice of 1 lemon. Okay, and I'm gonna use my ghetto seed catcher. Ghetto style. Then we're gonna add 1.5 orange bell peppers. And then I'm gonna take out the seeds on this, drop those in there, pulse it for about 2 or 3 minutes, and just let it roll. It's a nice consistency. We'll take our cheese sauce and we're gonna drop it into the kale. This is 1 bunch of organic red kale. We're just gonna give the kale some love, okay? Now the key thing about giving the kale some love is number 1, we wanna break down the fibers, okay, from the kale, because it can be a little tough, and number 2, everything tastes better with love, right? Okay, so we gotta give it some love. This is my favorite part. It's like making mud patties. I love you, kale. Thank you for providing nutrition for us. And we send our blessings to the farmers that made it, Mother Earth, and guys who got it to the store, the people that own the store, and everybody benefits from it. And guess what? Even those people that eat it benefit from it. Making sure we feed our body good. Okay, we want to feed our body good. We don't need to put all those Pringles. Just put the Pringles down, baby. Put them down. We're gonna just take this and we're gonna put this on our dehydrator sheet, okay? So if you don't have a dehydrator, you could do these in the oven, but when you put them in the oven, they're not gonna be raw. Raw is gonna be under 125 degrees. Some people say 118 degrees. I personally say 125 degrees, because that's the hottest it's been known to be on the planet. I think it was somewhere in California. And then we're just gonna take our bunch of kale and we're gonna put it on our dehydrator sheet. As you see here, nice little dehydrator sheet. The key here is you don't want to spread it too thin. You actually want to keep it fairly condensed, because that means you're going to get a nice chunky kale chip, okay? And the chunky kale chips are the best ones. Nice big Chunk-a-Lot Records. If you spread it too thin, it's cool. You may seem like you get more, but then sometimes it may break up a little bit, so it's a little more break-up-y, okay? And that's not nearly as fun. Break-up-y is now a word. Doesn't that look delicious? Huh? I get to lick my fingers, and then I'm gonna wash my hands, and then we're gonna put this in the dehydrator. Best way I like to do it is I like to dehydrate them for about 12 hours or so. Okay, give them a nice dehydrate. Now, could you do it with 6 hours? Absolutely. But the more you dehydrate them, the crispier they get. So you get that beautiful texture, but they still maintain their taste, and it just continues to allow the juices and all the delicious flavors to bake in, which are baked into my mustache and my beard. So sometimes I just save this for later in case I get hungry and something like that. So it's really good. It's like, it's so good. Okay, I didn't even expect that. I was just brushing my teeth, and now here's some kale sauce. This is terrific. I really love this. Okay. So we're going to pop this in our dehydrator. We're going to put these in at approximately 115 degrees. Leave them up overnight, and then you can pick them up in the morning. Kale chips are good, I mean, any time of day. It's like potato chips, right? Except they're healthy, they're better for you. You can have them any time of day. And then we just let them roll. And then when we're done, they come out just like so. So these I've had in there about 12 hours. Look at that beautiful cheesy goodness. You're talking about many layers of kale chips, so they're chunked together, perfect for eating, and best of all, it's superfood. That's what I'm talking about. So look at that. Look at those big chunks, big juicy chunks, like a whole thing, like a big square. We just break it up. Okay, put it into our bowl. Now let's try. It's time to eat. Dynamite. That little bit of lemon's great. The heat from the jalapenos and cayenne. A little bit of sweetness. And they're so crunchy. The texture is so phenomenal. Because they're thick, they're not going to fall apart. And you're going to get a bunch of little kale pieces at the end. You get these big, thick, juicy, satisfying, unbelievable. Now, the only thing I'll tell you is this. You want to make more than one batch because they will go like that. I'm going to keep eating. We'll see you next time. That's nice.
Well, that's all for this week. Want more?
Follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or hang with us 24/7 at consciouslivingtv.com. See you next time.
I'm gonna catch you. Thank you. Thank you. Stick a hot dog in that guy's mouth. Shut up!